spend every Sunday just living good. Might do a little fishing, a little hunting on the weekend. With a bow I'll be sneaking back in the woods. A little bit crazy, every now and then maybe. Like to kick off my boots and get lazy, but I'm living good, yeah.
This episode of Pathfinder Outdoor Journal is being brought to you by Self-Reliance Outfitters, the Pathfinder School, Duluth Pack, Battle Horse Knives, Short Lane Arms, Lansky, Survival Resources, Carbon TV, and Survival Life.
From hunting to fishing to camping to survival, Self-Reliance Outfitters has the quality outdoor gear to help you and your family make the most of your next outdoor adventure. Visit us online at www.selfrelianceoutfitters.com. Outdoor gear for outdoor people.
At the Pathfinder School in Southeast Ohio, we train hundreds of people each year in short-term emergency survival, emergency preparedness, self-reliance, and sustainability. We train individuals, families, and groups with low instructor-to-student ratios to guarantee the best possible training environment for your money. To join us for an upcoming class, please visit our website at thepathfinderschoolllc.com.
Duluth Pack, handcrafted in Duluth, Minnesota since 1882. True outdoorsmen like Dave Canterbury have been using our canvas and leather products for over 130 years. Our American-made, time-tested craftsmanship makes Duluth Pack the only gear you'll need for your next adventure. Hunting, fishing, bushcrafting, camping, canoeing, business gear, backpacks, all this and more at duluthpack.com.
On this week's episode of Pathfinder Outdoor Journal, we're going to discuss the accoutrements and the firearm of the 18th century woodsman. Then we're going to travel to Missouri to the Ozarks to hunt Russian boar with our 20 gauge flintlock firearm. To the 18th century woodsman, his fowler, or his musket, as it was commonly called, would have been the difference between his life and his death. It would protect him from renegade Indians, but it would also provide table fare for the cabin along the settlements or for the campfire while on a trek or a scout. There are ledger entries from George Morgan's trading house along the Kaskaskia River in Illinois, charging 80 shillings for a French fusil or smoothbore weapon. Oftentimes, a decent hunter that signed on to a bateau for a long hunt with George Morgan would make about 80 shillings per month. So let's discuss for a minute what the woodsman needed to carry with him to operate his firearm. We know in modern times that we need to carry certain things with us when we hunt in the woods with our firearm to take care of daily maintenance as well as firing and operation of the weapon itself. The flintlock musket is based on flint and steel technology. You have a steel frizzen or hammer that is hardened steel. You have a hammer that has a piece of flint in the jaws. And you have a pan that holds your powder here with a vent at the end of the barrel here that goes into the chamber, so that when you put powder into the chamber, you have a hole that connects to that chamber of powder. When priming powder or a priming load is placed in this pan and the frizzen is closed, you then put the weapon on full cock, and when you pull the trigger, the flint strikes this frizzen, pushes it forward and out of the way, driving sparks into the pan, igniting that powder, which then travels through the hole to create ignition in the firearm. Besides his firearm, the woodsman would always have a shot bag and a horn. His shot bag would carry any accoutrements that he needed for not only daily maintenance of the weapon, but also firing the weapon. His horn would contain the powder that he would use oftentimes for both loading and priming. Connected to my bag, I have a small piece of copper tubing that's smashed on one end that gives you the proper measure by volume of both powder and shot for loading the weapon. Shot bags were generally a simple affair. One pouch generally, sometimes with an inner pocket of some type, that carried the implements that you would need to fire the weapon as well as daily maintenance. There's one tool inside this shot bag, and it's called a napping hammer. It has a turn screw, what's called a turn screw or screwdriver, on the front of it and on a T-handle that's used to take apart the lock mechanisms. And then it has a small hammer here and a napper here so that you can nap the flint or create new flints if you need to for your musket. I have a small leather pouch here of sheep's wool that I use for wadding, and I use this wadding because sheep's wool contains lanolin. So I carry a small amount of that in a bag here that I can use for also maintenance of my weapon, for wiping the lock down and things of that nature. I have a small piece of fabric here, this is just Osnaburg, that I can use for patching or wiping down the lock if I want to. I have a deerskin bag that contains shot, and this is just a shot pouch, and basically it just contains number 4 shot that I use for hunting small game, turkey, and things of that nature. I have several balls on an inside pocket here that I can just reach in and grab one at a time. And these are a 62 caliber round ball, and these are what's called a chewed ball. And a chewed ball has been cast round, and then it has been worked over with a horseshoe rasp to form dimples in the ball on top of a stump, very similar to a modern day golf ball. This device is called a mainspring vise, and it would have been used to lock down the mainspring not only in the lock but also this outside spring, so that you could remove pieces and parts for maintenance if necessary. I have a lead ladle that I can use to cast round ball from shot, and I generally would carry more shot instead of raw lead because I could always melt the shot down to make a round ball if I needed to, but I'm not going to be able to make shot out of the round ball, so it's much easier for me to cast balls. I have a bag mold for casting those round balls in 6.0 caliber, and then I also have a small tin of animal tallow. This happens to be deer tallow that I can use to not only grease the mechanisms and things on my firearm, but also to wipe it down and wipe the wood down and keep it oiled and clean. I also have what was called a penny knife or a jackknife or a whittling knife. It's just a single bladed folding knife that was used for smaller intricate tasks and also for fine whittling and carving. There is a story in Seed Time on the Cumberland of a hunter who actually whittled a new rifle stock around the campfire one night to replace a broken one. So let's discuss for a moment the loading of the flintlock smoothbore. First thing we want to ensure is that there's no load in the gun. You can hear that solid thud, that solid tap when it's bottoming out. And most woodsmen will mark their ramrod, and you can see this one's marked in black, and that tells me that I'm at the bottom of my chamber and there's no load in the gun. If the ramrod were up above the mark, it would tell me there was a load in this firearm. Once I know that there's no load in the firearm and I know it's ready to be loaded, I will first get a proper measure of powder. So I'll take my measure, open my powder horn, and tilt it to the measure. Filling it to the proper volume, and then replacing the plug. That will then be poured down the barrel to charge the firearm. The next step is to place a wad in the firearm, and I'll just take a piece of sheep's wool, stuff it down the barrel with my finger, and then take my ramrod, always keeping the muzzle away from me, even though there's no way the gun can fire without powder in the pan and without the hammer being down and the cock being cocked. But for safety's sake, we always want to keep the muzzle away from our body. Now at this point I can decide what type of load to put in the gun. I can carry the gun just like this until I'm ready to take some type of game, and I can decide whether it's going to be shot or round ball at this point, especially with chewed ball, because I don't have to patch the ball. I can just shove the ball down, ram it home, and because it's been a chewed ball, it will hold friction against the inside of the barrel, and I won't have to put any kind of overcard or overwad on that. If I decide to use a shot load, I'll need an overwad. So in this case, we will go ahead and shoot a shot load. So we would take our shot at that point from our pouch, and we would do the same thing. We would get a proper measure of our shot, and we would fill our volume to the top. Again, dumping it down the barrel gently, replacing this back into our shooting bag, at the same time grabbing another small piece of wadding. And sometimes that can be a chore to get a small piece of wadding off that sheep's wool. Repeating the process again, we're just going to shove that wad down the barrel. So now we've created basically a shotgun shell within the barrel of this flintlock firearm. At this point you can see how much load we have in the gun from the line to this. So we have this much, about the length of a normal shotgun shell. We'll replace our wiping stick, and now we are ready to charge the pan so that the weapon is ready to fire. And to do that, we put the weapon on half cock. We again open up our horn, dumping enough powder in the pan only to fill the well. And there is a well in this pan that you can see right here. You can see the well, and you'll load that and close the hammer. At that point you're on half cock, and even if you pull the trigger, the weapon will not fire. It has to be cocked fully before it will fire. At this point we're ready to discharge the weapon. We can put it to full cock. A good flintlock firearm with a good lock mechanism should fire as soon as you pull the trigger. Battle Horse knives are heirloom quality knives, built for the outdoorsman by outdoorsmen. With years of experience, Battle Horse makes the best quality knives on the market today and stand behind their knives with a 100% lifetime guarantee. From the PLSK Scout to the Trapline Companion to the Nesmic and everything in between, Battle Horse can make a knife to fit your needs. Whether I'm hunting, fishing, trapping, or just recreational camping, a Battle Horse knife is always on my side. At Short Lane Arms with sub-caliber adapters, they make your single-shot 12-gauge shotgun a one and done for your hunting arsenal. With everything from rimfire cartridges in 22 long rifle to 17 HMR to centerfire pistol cartridges in 38 caliber to 45 ACP. The greatest versatility with the Short Lane Arms sub-caliber adapter is in the 8-inch rifled adapter models. You can match your sidearm to your 12-gauge shotgun with an 8-inch rifle adapter to make it even more versatile than a shotgun alone.
Hi, I'm John McCann from Survival Resources. We specialize in custom survival kits, all the components necessary to build your own survival kit, and emergency preparedness products. Check us out at survivalresources.com.
We're in the Ozarks of Missouri today to hunt Russian boar. When you think Russian boar hunting, generally speaking, you think high-powered rifle, scopes, long distance, things of that nature, or catch dogs of some sort. Today, we're going to hunt old school, 18th century style with a 62 caliber smoothbore flintlock. Stay with us. We shot this hog at about 30 yards, 25, 30 yards, laying down behind a log. Hit him on the shoulder right behind the plate. This is the exit wound on this side. The entry wound's on this side. Rolled him right down the hill. I thought he was done. This big daddy got up and went up the hill. I ended up having to track him for about 20 minutes and shoot him again to get him down. But I can tell you that the flintlock is just as effective today as it was 250 years ago in the 18th century. And there is no doubt that you can take home the bacon with Old Bess.
From hunting to fishing to camping to survival, Self-Reliance Outfitters has the quality outdoor gear to help you and your family make the most of your next outdoor adventure. Visit us online at www.selfrelianceoutfitters.com. Outdoor gear for outdoor people.
At the Pathfinder School in Southeast Ohio, we train hundreds of people each year in short-term emergency survival, emergency preparedness, self-reliance, and sustainability. We train individuals, families, and groups with low instructor-to-student ratios to guarantee the best possible training environment for your money. To join us for an upcoming class, please visit our website at thepathfinderschoolllc.com.
Duluth Pack, handcrafted in Duluth, Minnesota since 1882. True outdoorsmen like Dave Canterbury have been using our canvas and leather products for over 130 years. Our American-made, time-tested craftsmanship makes Duluth Pack the only gear you'll need for your next adventure. Hunting, fishing, bushcrafting, camping, canoeing, business gear, backpacks, all this and more at DuluthPack.com.
Battle Horse knives are heirloom quality knives, built for the outdoorsman by outdoorsmen. With years of experience, Battle Horse makes the best quality knives on the market today and stand behind their knives with a 100% lifetime guarantee. From the PLSK Scout to the Trapline Companion to the Nesmic and everything in between, Battle Horse can make a knife to fit your needs. Whether I'm hunting, fishing, trapping, or just recreational camping, a Battle Horse knife is always on my side. And short lane arms with sub-caliber adapters, they make your single-shot 12-gauge shotgun a one and done for your hunting arsenal. With everything from rimfire cartridges in 22 long rifle to 17 HMR to centerfire pistol cartridges in 38 caliber to 45 ACP. The greatest versatility with the short lane arm sub-caliber adapter is in the 8-inch rifle adapter models. You can match your sidearm to your 12-gauge shotgun with an 8-inch rifle adapter to make it even more versatile than a shotgun alone. This week's survival tip on Pathfinder Outdoor Journal is brought to you by Carbon TV. The 18th century woodsman many times used flint and steel to start his fires. Flint and steel technology is what operated his flintlock firearm. A steel for striking was given to John Smith by the Indians when he was captured, along with a wool blanket, a musket, and a few other items. But the fact that he was given a steel for striking to make his fires tells you that that was a mainstay even of the Native Americans of the 18th century. To effect spark from a steel, you needed a high carbon piece of steel with high iron content that when particles were removed from the steel by striking it with a harder object like a rock, piece of flint, chert, or quartz, those particles would combust and turn to a spark that was about 800 degrees. The precedence of charring material is to take material and enclose it in something like this charring tin with a hole for the gases to escape. This would be placed into the fire. As the heat builds up in the chamber, it begins to burn the material, but it will not combust the material because you've starved it of oxygen. So it can only carbonize the material and turn it to char. Once that material has been charred, then it can be ignited with the flint and steel. Once the woodsman had his charred material, his flint and his steel, he would also need a bird's nest or tinder bundle of sorts to process down some of the highly combustible plant fibers and inner bark materials from trees so that he could combine this with the ember that he creates from flint and steel and blow this to life for ignition within his fire lay. And you would just pick and choose what you moved. And then close the lid to put the rest of your char out to use for the next time. Once our initial fire's going, we can take our charring tin and put a piece of cloth in here, and we don't have to remove the char that's already in there. You can't overcook it unless you let oxygen in. So when we're done charring our material, this is what we have. This is that piece of cloth that we put in there. It's turned black. You can almost see through it. It should tear fairly easily if we pull on it. You can see how that rips right down. So what we'll do is we'll take a small piece of this. We'll put the big piece back in. We'll take the small piece now. And if we wanted to test our char to make sure it was going to be effective, we could just take our piece of flint out of our pocket. And generally, if you're going to light this stuff outside of the tin, you want to find a good sharp area of the flint and just put your piece kind of doubled over on top of the flint like this, and hold the flint at a slight angle and strike down on the flint while holding that on there, just like this. And all you're trying to do is bounce sparks on top of that charred material. And that piece will burn for quite a while to help you ignite your bird nest or your tinder bundle. Folks, I'm Dave Canterbury with the Pathfinder School and Pathfinder Outdoor Journal. I appreciate you joining us out here this week for another episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. Do me a favor, take a child to the woods. God bless you. We'll see you on the next episode.